G's family, well respected. His expertise is wills and trust. So without further ado, I'm gonna get this over to Jack. When he gets done, we'll have it open for questions. But try to be, Jim, this is not a time to ask specific questions. Okay, we want to give you information so you know what questions to ask. Okay? All right, thank you.
And during my presentation, feel free to raise your hand and interrupt me, and we can address your question or concern while we're on that part of my presentation. I don't have a problem with that. A little bit about myself. I was admitted to practice law in 1982. I've been focusing on probate law and estate planning since 1982 until now. How did I get to where I am now? It took some effort beyond law school. Over the years, I've taken over 400 extra hours in probate law, estate planning, wills and trusts to help me do what I do, which is almost another law school on top of law school after. But unfortunately, we live in a society now where everything is specialized, and there's so many different laws and different twists that to get a handle on this area, you have to take the extra hours. For you, I would suggest there are a lot of lawyers out there that say they know how to do this, and they hold up the advertisement or the flag, and they say they're experts in that area. There's nothing that requires them to document how much of an expert they are. So sometimes you might get to someone who says they know what they're doing, but they don't know what they're doing. And we do end up with some cases like that after they're kind of jerked around by somebody that didn't know what they were doing. I have an outline up here. If you didn't get one, there's one on that podium up here. I've outlined several issues which are popular topics and probably what you hear a lot about. And I think the number one which you see, you probably get things in the mail when the demographic says to age whatever about, hey, you're trying to promote the trust idea. Do you need a trust? So let's talk about what is a trust. Okay, what is a trust? Trust is just a legal document or a set of documents where what you do while you're living, you transfer all your assets to a trust. And most of the time, if you're married, you make you and your wife trustees, and you have successor trustees, and you're with the trust, you say what you want to happen to your property over one generation, two generations, three generations, whatever. The problem what we see a lot with these trusts is a lot of time, trust is not a thin document. It's a thick document with a lot of words, a lot of boilerplate language, and a lot of the language in the document is just boilerplate as to powers and all that stuff, and you only got like a couple pages saying what you really want to happen to your property. And the issue is, though, that a lot of these trusts, that they can be expensive. You get a booklet like that. It's most of the time it's a pretty either vinyl or leather booklet, and some people are paying $3,000 or $4,000 for this booklet and this trust packet, and they got a spouse and two adult children. They got one house and 2 or 3 bank accounts, where they could have some simple things to avoid probate, or the probate process will be cheaper than the trust. But sometimes you need a trust. Situations where I think trusts are good. Say you're on this is your second or your third marriage. You have adult children by your first marriage. Your wife has adult children by her first marriage. You want to make sure that your adult children by your first marriage are taken care of, and she wants to make sure that her adult children by her first marriage are taken care of. And you don't want that wife, after you die, to grab everything and then kick your children to the side. And no matter how much, that love and affection, all that kind of frilly coo thing goes while people are going out of this world. It's, I'll never do that to them. I wouldn't do that to them. Have it in writing, because sometimes you go out of here and that the spouse falls in love, and doesn't matter the age, it's all over again, and blood, you hate to say it, but blood is thicker than water. I'm going to take care of my kids, a lot of times, and I'm going to screw your kids. So that's a common kind of thing. Now, what kind of relatively inexpensive alternatives are there out there to avoid the probate process? There's a lot of them out there. As to your real estate, we have something that's very popular now. We have a transfer on death affidavit. Not expensive. Now, what that transfer on death affidavit does, as to your house, let's say, you want your house to go to your one daughter, or daughter and son, or three, and you want it to come to them without a probate process. You can do that. Just transfer on death affidavit. It's just simple form. You sign while you're living, and it's recorded. And at your death, all that needs to be done is just an affidavit's filed, and the property automatically transfers to the heirs. But there's some cautions with that too, like if you have, say you have 3 children, and the 3 children don't get along, and you do this transfer on death affidavit, and automatically at your death it transfers to the 3 children. Okay, that if they want to sell a house, all 3 of them have to agree. According to Ohio law, we have a dower interest, which means when property is transferred to an individual in their name solely, if that individual is married, then that property can't be transferred unless the spouse signs too. So sometimes when we do that transfer on death affidavit and the 3 children get the property, then the arguments are, okay, who's going to live in the property? Are we going to sell the property? Okay, daughter 1, you're living in the property. Okay, you're tearing up the house. You're not cleaning it. You're not. There's a roof. Okay, you should pay for the roof because you're living in the house. So you can see the kind of issues that happen with that. Other things that avoid, and feel free to with questions as we come along if you have questions. The other thing, some things which avoid the process are you can, on your bank accounts, investments, and so on, you can put beneficiaries on those things. You can get with your investment advisor or with your bank and say, okay, I want this money payable on death to XYZ. Stays out of probate. All they got to do is go to the bank with the death certificate, transfers. Or you can do the joint bank account, with the daughter or son or whoever passes outside of probate death to the survivor. Now, one thing people may not realize, that when you say you're getting up in age and you want to say you have 3 children, and you want to put you got 1 child that lives in the city with you, so you put that name on your bank account. Now, what banks don't tell you when you go into the bank, all that fine print and those documents you sign when you open up an account, most of the time that account is a joint and survivorship account. Now, we used to litigate that intent a while back. So that means if you die, hey, that money automatically goes to that person on the account. no matter if you have a will, and you say you have a will leaving that account specifically to someone else, the contract with the bank trumps the will. We had there was a Ohio Supreme Court case several years back where there was a man in Cleveland. He had $300,000 or $400,000 in the bank, and all of his 3 children lived out of town. And because his brother was in town, he went to the bank and set up accounts with his brother on the account, which were all joint in survivorship. He didn't read all the language in the joint and survivorship account language. What he did, so he died, so the brother went and got all the $300,000 or $400,000. The 3 kids, they probated the will, and so they sued the brother. The case got all the way up to the Ohio Supreme Court. Before this case, they used to deal with intent. What did the person intend to do when they went into the bank? The Ohio Supreme Court said, we're tired of dealing with this issue. If you go into the bank and you don't read what you sign, we don't care. So they gave his brother the whole $300,000 or $400,000, and they screwed the kids. So just be careful of that with the joint and survivorship, whatever, investments, whatever. Also, life insurance. Life insurance is a non-probate asset as long as you have a beneficiary and as long as or you could have a trust there, as long as you don't make the estate beneficiary. Trust versus probate and wills. The reason why we used to do a lot of trusts was we were avoiding estate tax. Right now, Ohio has no estate tax. So there is no death tax in Ohio when you die. There's no federal estate tax on an individual unless you're above $5 million, husband and wife, $10 million. So most of the time we don't deal with we don't have a state tax issue to deal with. So the trust thing, most of the time we are doing those to protect assets, first marriage, second marriage, or if you have a disabled child, you want to spread that money out and give it to a trustee, whatever, and that kind of thing. What a lot of people think, a common thing that's out there that a lot of people say is if you don't have a will or a trust, the state takes your property. That is not true. That is not true. We have, in Ohio, we have something called the Statute of Descent and Distribution. Statute of Descent and Distribution determines who gets your property all the way down to a stepchild. So let's say you die without a will or a trust, no estate plan, and you're survived by a spouse, and you're survived by 2 children, and these 2 children are also the children of your surviving spouse. Per Ohio law, all the property goes to the surviving spouse. All the property goes there. There are no questions. If those children were not children of the surviving spouse, then we have a split. If there's a 1 child, it's a half-half split. If it's more than 1 child, it's a 1/3, 2/3 split. And as well, the other thing you should be aware of too, is that surviving spouses, as to probate property and as to non-probate property, have a lot of statutory rights. Like for example, now, so if you are a widow or a widower and you're thinking about that second marriage or third marriage, it would be a good idea to get what's known as a prenup agreement to eliminate some of these spousal rights. Because one of the spousal rights we have is that the surviving spouse can get as many cars in your name, in their name, without any probate process, as long as all the cars, the value of all the cars together don't exceed $60,000. Also, surviving spouses are entitled to, if the house is in probate, live in the mansion house for a year free of charge. They're also entitled to a $40,000 allowance for support that comes ahead of all creditors, which is some things to think about. Another issue, oh yes. Oh, you're looking to talk about Medicaid estate planning. Yeah, there are not a lot. There are a few lawyers right now that are just specializing in Medicaid estate planning. Some interesting issues with Medicaid estate planning is they can, that thing you just mentioned, are you worried about losing your house? Let's talk about that a little bit. If you let's say you are, we'll go through some different scenarios. Let's say husband and wife, married, okay, they have a house. The wife, let's say the wife is living in the house. Okay, the husband is a little bit older than the wife. The husband is very ill, has to go to nursing home. They don't have long-term care insurance, whatever. The husband's income is greater than the wife's income. So his monthly income is with, say, Social Security retirement is way more than hers. Now, this is with our current Ohio Medicaid law, and we have people, lawyers we work with that do that. That's all they do. Now, what they can do is she could put him in a nursing home. Medicaid estate recovery will not go after her house until after she dies. And even after she dies, Medicaid, they can compromise the amount that's owed. Bear in mind, when we look at that, we look at statistics, the average nursing home stay, some people exceed this, average nursing home stay, I believe, is like 1.5 years. So most of the time people go to the nursing home, they're not going to live these bad things to talk about more than 1.5 years. So you got a fixed figure there. Whatever that figure is, after the fact, when Medicaid will negotiate that amount. But while that spouse is living, hey, she's in her house. Medicaid won't come after her house. Doesn't matter what the value of the house is. Okay, the other thing Medicaid will let you do, I don't know the exact numbers, but Medicaid will let the spouse that's in the house, they will let them keep over $100,000 in the bank to do whatever they want to. It's above 100 now, I don't know the exact number, but let's say you're above that $100,000. Say you got $200,000. Okay, so if you're above that $100,000 that you can keep, go out and buy a bigger house. Get a bigger house. You get a bigger house, and Medicaid can't get to your house. Your husband's in the nursing home. And the other thing, which is I think is fair, Medicaid has a formula, and the spouse that's in the house, they will let her keep her husband on Medicaid and let her get a good portion of his monthly income each month for herself and still keep him on Medicaid. And they have other exemptions in there as to cars or whatever. It's very, very kind of a specialized area. The other issue with I just mentioned to you those the average time people live in a nursing home, and the other issue that some people I think falsely push is, oh, transfer your house to your kids. Transfer it to your kids, man. If I go to a nursing home, the state can't get my house and all that stuff. Well, hey, like that just scenario I just mentioned, there are a lot of ways you can deal with Medicaid and still keep your house. And the other issue is that sometimes when people transfer those houses to those kids, the kids die before them. Or the kids are jerks and they go out and mortgage the house, or they get in a wreck and kill somebody or something, and then somebody's after their house. And the other tax issue, which is a big issue, with, I know you're all aware that if you may not realize that Columbus is one of the best real estate markets in the whole United States right now. That there are people from California, Texas, Florida, all parts of the country. They want property in Columbus, Ohio. Why do they want property in Columbus, Ohio? Hey, we don't have earthquakes, we don't have tsunamis, we don't live near an ocean. We got a stable economy, whatever. So you got people that die. You sell these houses. I looked at the house the other day. A house, driving park area, 900 square feet. 900 square feet. Auditor's valuation $50,000. That house sold in 1 week for $147,000. So that you're off the hook everywhere. Okay, now I say that to say that if let's say you have a house, and you got that son or daughter out there that's always looking to try to save a dollar or grab a dollar from you, and they're saying, "Oh, Mom, hey, Dad, give me your house, give me your house. I'm gonna keep Medicaid from getting your house." Okay. When you quit claim that house to them, okay, they take your tax basis in that property. What does that mean? Okay, let's say you pay $20,000 for that house. That house is now worth $100,000. Okay, you quit claim it to your daughter or son. They turn around and sell that house for $100,000. They have $80,000 in capital gains. Whereas if they wait and get that house through a transfer on death designation affidavit, or through a trust, or through the probate process, they get what's known as a stepped-up basis. What's a stepped-up basis? That means at your death, your house is worth $200,000. When you bought it, you paid $50,000 for it. When you sell it at death for $200,000 through a trust or through the probate process, your basis is $200,000. That means you have no capital gains. So your kids are getting $200,000 worth of money tax-free. Whereas if you gift it to them and then they sell it, then they got that process. So I don't push too much of that. So I hope I answered your question there with some other information.
I had this a two-part question. I just thought about this.
Yes.
It has to be 5 years, or they have to have it in that.
Yeah, transfers, they don't, if the transfer is over 5 years old, then Medicaid can't get to it. But even if the transfer is over 5 years old, you still have that tax basis issue. So that's that. Other questions on that? Yeah.
Attorney Gibbs, this might help clarify to some of the those that are here. When if someone had a home paid for and were, let's say, going into a nursing home and had to get on Medicaid, what would you recommend as far as their home being an asset, and so that they don't?
It would all depend on. It would depend on what is the spouse, husband and wife, or is the person that's a widow or divorced? Different plans, and there are it's a lot of Medicaid thing. There's a lot of Medicaid manual is about like that. So there's a lot of different caveats and loopholes, and one of the great benefits through our Medicaid manual is your prepaid funeral is an exempt asset. So you can go buy a prepaid funeral for whatever amount you want to buy. You can have Benny can get you the gold casket and have doves flying off at the funeral and everything, and that is the exempt that is an exempt asset. So, and the cemetery lots are exempt too. And I'm sure Benny can help you with that. Benny knows that's something that we were planning to be careful with your planning as to what cemetery you pick and all that. Benny knows the issues with the different places, and I won't point fingers at anyone, but there are some issues at different places which Benny would know about, which he can make you abreast of, which you don't want to fall into. Yeah, there are. Yeah, it's different. Yes. What's that?
There seems to be a lot of commercials on TV where you can get your own will done. And I want you to speak on that. Is it ever...
that is not a good idea. A lot of these commercials on TV, they're outside of Ohio, and they're promoting a boilerplate will that is not good for Ohio. Let me give you an example. You know, I've had several states where people have went on those plans and they did the will themselves. And we did one, and the guy, he spelled his name wrong at the top. He did not give himself power to sell real estate or other powers. He created a trust in the will. He didn't name a trustee. So all trying to use one of these things. So one of these, I don't recommend getting one of those. I know they're cheap, one of those discount packets or whatever, and do that, because most of the time you're going to mess it up. So and then we mess it up, then we gotta clean it up. So whatever, it's all kind of different things. Like let me get your question, man. Like other problems we see, like in Ohio, we have a statute that says you cannot be a witness on a will and be a beneficiary in a will. If you're a beneficiary in a will and you're a witness, you knock yourself out as a beneficiary. A lot of these plans, they don't tell you these things. In Ohio, we just require 2 witnesses for a will. We don't require that the will be notarized. And some states just require 1 witness notarized. So that all kind of different pitfalls in there that you could fall into that which I don't advise. And we've seen quite a few of the messed up wills that have been purchased.
We got time for one more question.
Okay. Yeah, I online too. Yeah, we get them messed up online where people get those online wills and they do it themselves, and we're cleaning up. Seeing we have some where people created a trust, and they got a trust and beneficiaries in the will, and you can't figure out what, and it makes us have to have a litigation to do that. One other thing I wanted to, yes.
What would be, speaking of will and trust, what would be the average cost?
If you're looking at a average trust cost, you're looking maybe, I would say $2,500, $3,500 to have it done right. Average will cost depends on how many beneficiaries, whatever. Average will cost, I'd say anywhere from $100, couple $100. But with your will, you should also do healthcare power of attorney, financial power of attorney, because you may not die. You may just get real sick, and you're laying there, and you need somebody to take care of your business for you, healthcare and financial. If you don't have those things in place, then you're looking at a guardianship. Guardianship is an expensive process through the probate court. You got to go through the court every time you do something. One other thing I wanted to mention, which I think you all should think about too, if you don't have one, Ohio, we have a statute that allows you to designate who is to take care of your body at your death. It's called a body disposition form. Benny sees that. If you don't have that in place, could be some issues. Like let's say your will doesn't control your body, your trust doesn't control your body, but the body disposition form does. say you don't have a spouse, say you have 3 daughters, and you have 3 daughters, all 3 of these daughters have equal right to what happens to your body. So what happens if you got one daughter wants to put you in a mausoleum, you got another daughter that wants to cremate you, then you got another daughter who wants you to have a traditional burial. So that we have seen that issue develop with those exact numbers, where we ended up with the client laid in the funeral home for 6 months, where we were fighting about who had control to bury the mother. And we had emotional hearings on that, whatever. And in the body disposition forms, you can, we can provide blank ones to you. You can take a look at. Really good thing about those is you can put in there, you can say what funeral home you want, you can say what church you want your service to be in. You can say, I want to be cremated, I don't want to serve, I don't want people to look at me. You can do whatever you want to do in that disposition, and you can designate one person as a primary and another person altar to carry that out, which cuts a lot of things out. So I didn't want to overgo my time.
No, you're fine, Jack. Okay. At this point, we're going to let Jack go, and I think, Benny, you're up next. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Let's give our brother Jack Gibbs a round of applause for his information. Were you next? Okay. Okay. Brother Ray Campbell is going to be next to talk about life insurance, term versus whole life. Okay. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Jack, thank you again so much. Do you want to give everybody your phone number and email address? Okay, good. Okay, all right then. Okay. No, thank you. Okay, man. Thanks, Eli. Thank you so much. Man, I'll talk to you. Thanks. Okay, buddy.
Praise the Lord, saints. I wanted to go next because we want to give you the information, and Benny is the last step that we get to. So
that makes sense. Okay.
that's the last step. So I want to give you this information. Sister Campbell and I have been talking about, we have that, Brother Gibbs, but we want to probably get some more information about wills and trusts, and one of the kids told me, he says, well, Dad, we want to spend your trust. No, we want to spend my trust. And that was Micah. He wanted to spend the money. So anyway, we wanted to talk to you about life insurance. I've been licensed for life health insurance since 1983. And got into the banking industry, did a lot of financial literacy classes to different corporations throughout the city. But in diving into this, even when I was in the banking industry, I've had people, or I would tell them about life insurance. How much life insurance do you have? I'm going to, some of you know, if not, I'm not a lecturer. I like participation, and I'll be asking you questions, and which is okay. And David, you have to time me, please. Time me, please, because I think this is important. There is, and I meant to grab my Bible. There's a Bible scripture in Proverbs 13. What does that say? Proverbs 13 and 22. If you get it, come on, just read it out loud for me. A good man does what? Leaves an inheritance to his children's children. There's two words I want to use today, and that is wisdom and ignorance. And let me explain the two. Wisdom is experiential knowledge. By looking at a lot of you all, it's experiential knowledge. You've experienced some things, and that's how we obtain the knowledge. Ignorance comes from a root word mean ignore. Sometimes people ignore what they don't want to hear, see, or do. And life insurance is one of those things. No, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to be jinxed. No, this is reality. It really is. Anybody know the difference between term and whole life insurance?
Yes, for term insurance, it's up to a certain age limit. If you're 85, that's where it stops. Whole life there is no limit. It goes on and on and on.
Good. Is that what you're going to say? Term insurance? Yes, ma'am. You can borrow off whole life. Anything else? Term insurance. Term insurance, yes, term insurance is less expensive. Also, as you get older, there are different types of term insurances. There is a level term. That means where your premiums remain level. Whenever your premiums remain level, in most cases, that's when your value decreases. And then there's increasing term. Increasing term is when you have your premiums are level, but your premiums increases while the value also stays the same. Couple things I really wanted to come up with that. How many of you seen the commercial Colonial Penn? Y'all got Colonial Penn? Huh? And David, thank you for allowing me to be here, because my computer is in the doctor's office, so I had to take it last night, and hopefully I'll get it back today. But I printed out some things about Colonial Penn. I end up getting online and pulling up Colonial Penn, and this is the information that I really want you to know when you see things. I know Attorney Gibbs says something when you see things on TV, how they make it sound so good. And yes, especially the African American man on the Colonial Penn, there are a lot of black folk, I want to get that insurance. So what I did, I pulled up I did online and pulled up a quote for myself. At my age, 66, my Lord, what happened? The 1 unit, I'm sorry, the 995 policy is 1 unit. And the 1 unit gives you, here it is, $9.95, 1 unit gives you only $846 of life insurance. That's what they're advertising on TV, as low as $9.95. And we are more premium conscious than anything. $9.95. I'm gonna call them, and once they get you on the phone, they want to talk to you more about getting more. And I shouldn't have did all this, but I did. The average cost of funeral is about 7 to 10, 8. To get a $10,000 policy. Now, you're over 65 right now, and you're on your fixed income, and you want to minimize your cost. So the $10,000 life insurance policy through Colonial Penn is 12 units, $119.40. Okay? That's through Colonial Penn. That's term. And they don't offer whole life insurance at all. Okay? And it's basically generated and is focused on seniors. It's focused on us. What about Globe Life? Who has Globe Life? We had it for the kids. I called Globe Life also their term policy is $10,000, and Sister Jenkins, it goes up to age 90, and it's $42.24 a month for $10,000 of term policy. However, whenever you're talking to these people, you've got to ask more questions. Is there anything else? Always ask more questions, because now I started to ask more questions. Every 5 years past 70, it goes up. That $10,000 policy now is $59 a month. At 75, it's going to go up again. At 80, it's going to go up again. Now, they do have whole life insurance. So for that $10,000 policy at my age, at 66, it'll be $72.90 a month. Okay? I'm glad that you really understand the difference between term and whole life. I have to explain that all the time. I said, term insurance is like renting a house. You put your money into it, you don't get anything back in return. And then term policies, it can be 10, 20, 30, there's also a 30-year term. So based on your age, it can be 30 years. If the average age group here, say 45, 50 years old, you make it go to 30 years, maybe. But past maybe 50, 55, 60 years old, you only can go 20 years. And the cost of it is still expensive. And you're right, it pays out at death. I'm glad that Attorney Gibbs made a comment regarding life insurance not being taxed, which is great. What else I wanted to say? There's one more policy that you probably hear about as well, is universal life. How many of you heard of that before? Anybody know what universal life policies are? Anybody? Anybody understand those? Universal life is a life insurance policy mixed with investments. Back in, I think it was 85, there was a gentleman that was called, his name was A.L. Williams. A.L. Williams came out with a concept: buy term at a young age and invest the difference. So you buy term insurance, at $50, $20 of that money is going toward the insurance, and the other portion is going toward investments. Or you are taking that $50 and they say, well, we're going to give you insurance, and maybe a smaller portion of that is going toward your investments, and then you can add more money. If you're going to invest money, don't you want some type of say-so in where that investment is going? Yeah. With that, you're not doing it. A.L. Williams had an excellent concept. I love the idea of buying term and investing the difference. Only if you invest. And then you got to see, where am I going to put my money as to invest? And then now you're talking to an investment representative about putting the money where you should be. A lot of times when I'm talking to a family about life insurance, husband and wife, and they have smaller children, I always, for cost sake, I always mix the two together to give them more coverage for less money. So say if I have if I have a 5-year-old son, my wife and I have a 5-year-old, and I always look at the need of life insurance. Say they want $200,000 worth of life insurance. So what I'll do, I says, well, if I give you whole life insurance, now you're 30 years old and you still have a growing family, that could be really expensive for you. But what I really want to do is give you term insurance for 30 years. Only for 30 years, because your youngest child is 5 years old. So in 30 years, your youngest baby, so your fiduciary responsibilities for that child now is over, pretty much, if they come home and ask you for more money. But the thing is that now your fiduciary responsibility as a parent giving them money or being able to do all that is over. So now that term insurance expires, and if I'm 30 years old, another 30, that's 60 years old. And it's cheaper, but what I'm also doing, I'm also adding a whole life insurance policy, because I'm still young enough to get whole life insurance. And because whole life insurance builds cash value, builds dividends, that means it's going to increase over the years. And that makes it good. So now that, that $200,000 won't be $200,000, but yet, once you're planning, getting your estate, getting your trust together, and getting your affairs in order, by the time you turn 60, 65, 70 years old, you have all your ducks in a row. Okay? One of the things I run into a lot, a whole lot, and I'll ask you the question, is the life insurance you have at your jobs. The life insurance at your job is a term insurance. Term. That means when you leave your job and you got $160,000 worth of life insurance at your job, you go from job to job to job. You don't even think about the life insurance. I can buy more term. Yeah, I can get more. You can get more. Absolutely, get more. But when you leave, and then especially in the medical field, because one of the companies I represented was Mount Carmel, and I'm seeing these new hires, and they go from Mount Carmel to OSU to Riverside, and they just go round and round, but they don't think about, hey, I got all the coverage I need. I'm good, Ray. I'm good. And then I tell myself, by the time you turn 65, I'm going to come to you and ask you, how much life, when you went to your exit interview, retirement, how much life insurance do you have? Sister Campbell wanted me to go with her. I shouldn't have said that. She wanted me to go with her to her exit interview from the city. She was a manager at the city and for a city auditor. And she had, I think, 1.5 times her annual income of life insurance. City, 26 years. When she retired, her insurance dropped to $2,500. You all knew that, right? No, you didn't. Did you? Did you know that? So what I'm telling you is this. This is the experiential knowledge as far as you are concerned. Been there, done that, and you know, wow, I've got to get something beyond that. How much is enough? Life insurance. They actually tell us a person should have at least 5 times their annual income of life insurance. Some companies said 10 times. That's a lot. I'm glad, is he still here, Attorney Gibbs? I'm glad he said something because I was reading some more information about taxes. And as he said, life insurance under, what, 5 million or something like that, 200,000, $500,000 is not taxed. So the money that you actually are leaving an inheritance to your children's children's children, it goes to them, not taxed. Okay? When I got back in the industry, I really wanted to see the cultures as far as the black culture versus white culture. And I was very shocked to hear and to study and to read that African Americans, black folk, we believe in insurance more than our white counterparts. We really do. And I think I wrote that down somewhere. Here it is. In 2020, Haven Life Agency surveyed black households were likely to have more life insurance than whites. Slight, 8 out of 10 and 7 out of 10 white. Then in another section, it says that we believe in insurance because that's what we should do. Back in the day, I think it was John Hancock or somebody used to come to my parents' home, and they had a debit route. They used to pick up every week, every month, pick up the premium dollar. You know, I don't know if they still do that or not. But pick up the little premium dollar all the time. And the thing is, we believe when it comes to insurance, we only are focused on the burial insurance, the $5,000, maybe the $10,000. Okay? We don't think about the inheritance part of it. And then here comes our white counterparts. What they're thinking is, let's leave the inheritance. Pawpaw and grandmother have $500,000 apiece. Pawpaw and grandmother pass. I set up my trust with Attorney Gibbs. So that $500,000 now, or that million, her and I, goes to the trust. And the families and the kids are on the trust. And then my kids will have $1 million policy on themselves. Something happens to them, that money goes into the family trust. Then each kid, Arabella, Caleb, Christian, Gabby, and whoever else comes along later, they have $1 million policy as well. That goes into the trust. What our white counterparts do, they take the larger amount, and they do it early in life. So if you have children, if you have grandchildren, and you want to give them a life insurance policy or an investment policy or whatever it may be, you put it in, of course, it'll be a juvenile policy, but it builds up cash value that entire time. Okay? The note here, wealthy buy life insurance because of the tax benefit. Life insurance premiums and proceeds affording asset protection in the process. The proceeds are also tax-free to the beneficiary, as Attorney Gibbs said. Okay? One last thing. When you're dealing with life insurance companies, you want to make sure, and this is way too much, you want to make sure, is your insurance company a stock company or a mutual company? People says, well, it's a stock company. Yes. Actually, no. Because a stock company does not pay dividends. It's almost like an oxymoron. Stocks, you don't pay anything. A mutual company is mutual in paying money back to you. It's a mutual relationship. So you got to ask these questions. So between Attorney Gibbs and myself, yes. What are we doing? We are, can I say, we're probing you to go and look at your policies and do a reassessment and say, do I have enough? And not just for death purposes. People say, well, I don't want to leave my kids nothing. Or they'll say, well, I'm gone. I don't care what they do. Saints of God, we should leave an inheritance to our children. Okay? Any questions for me? Anything? Yes, sir? I'm sorry.
Young those that have medical issues, like I was diagnosed with congestive heart failure. And that is like having a felony in the insurance industry.
Yes, sir. There are some insurance companies based upon your medical condition. If you haven't been diagnosed, or if you're free and clear for 5 years or so, you may be able to get some insurance.
Yeah, but I'm in it, and I need insurance.
Pardon me?
I was diagnosed in it, and sometimes it seems like that history follows too.
Yes.
And the fact that they're saying I'm not completely out of it, but at the same time, you don't want to be a guinea pig.
Exactly.
And you got, and with that, see, because when I'm gone, I want my wife set up like a queen.
Yes.
And I don't want her to have to worry about where's this going to come from to take care of that, And so how could a guy like me, where can I get some without having to pay an arm and a leg for it? Because last time when we tried to do it, this was about a couple months ago,
Yeah.
she was looking for insurance from me.
Are you still working?
I'm self-employed.
Are you?
Yes. And the thing with that is she've always come up with these $10,000 policies or these 15. Why you keep dealing with them? That's all the thing I can get for you.
Uh-huh.
And she showed me, and because wanted to get something that was like, let's say around $200,000.
Yes, sir.
And it went from one price. About the time they said, let's see, bad heart. And so, oh, he took this medication. That's
Yeah.
going up. Oh, here it went from like $350 a month, and I saw it starting to rise and rise and rise. I said, wow, it's over for me as far as insurance.
And unfortunately, I knew the demographics that I'll be talking to today, and in my head, I'm thinking, only if I was talking to a younger demographic. When I use the word wisdom, you know what you know now. And you're like, man, what I know now, if I would have known it back then, a whole new different story. No, you wouldn't have did it then either. You wouldn't have. Oh, no, I'm good. Until something happens. And then you wish you had it. And now you can't get it. And And Sister Campbell said, make sure you say it with love. I said that with love because you know I love y'all. You know I love you. I love you. I love you to pieces. I do. The thing is, again, I know the demographics I was going to be talking to, and I'm like, man. So it's twofold. We really want you to examine what you have right now, but also what you're hearing today, take it back to your children and tell them as well. Yes, ma'am.
Part two, folks, in this. You get in the mail, and you spoke about Globe Life, and then I want to talk about the Gerber. And Globe, we were trying to help someone with the life insurance on that, and answered all the questions, and then they did research, and then I get a paper back saying that they're not going to cover in that life insurance because of a medication or the situation, which, of course, I didn't know anything about that. I know the different situations about the person. So they did not cover. They're supposed to send me my money back, which I have not gotten it back yet. Now, Gerber, what do you think about that for the children at that certain age, like 0 to 25, and you get up to 30,000, well, 5, 10, 20, to 30.
Yes, ma'am.
For cheap, and whole life. I think Gerber is whole life. And this, and Globe was term, which did not cover.
Right. Again, what just so happened, I just have to pull up Globe. I didn't do Gerber, and maybe I should do Gerber as well. I'm thinking that Gerber will be the same as Globe Insurance, basically. But I can look into that and I can get back with you because I'd like to know more about that as well. It's term insurance. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
I have the girl. I had it. My one son is 20 now, but I got it when I had it. Yeah, before my kids was a year old, I got the insurance, the Gerber insurance, the whole life.
Yes, ma'am.
And my 20-year-old, he still is on it, and I think at one point they sent me some money. I don't even know why on that Gerber insurance.
So apparently there's dividends.
Yeah, so I did, all 3 of my boys is still on it. I still keep them on the whole life insurance policy.
Which is great,
With
which
the,
is good.
Gerber. So I had that with my oldest son for 20, well, no, he's not 20, 18 years.
Yeah.
The other one is 17 and 14.
Yeah.
So far, but I'm gonna look into more of it. But
Yeah.
it's pretty good.
And excuse me, yes, getting the Gerber, getting the Globe, whatever it may be, at a very young age, which is great, but also do your homework. There are other companies out there that can do a lot more for you than that. I just called my investment girl and asked her, I'm like, can I put an annuity on my children, on my grandchildren? Okay, and I didn't listen to the text, but the voicemail. But putting money aside like that, whenever you have a whole life insurance, in most cases, whole life insurance interest rates is at like 3.25% interest rate, which is not bad. You're getting a dividend, you're getting a 3.25% interest rate, as well as life insurance. Because today, teenagers are dying, they're getting killed, they're getting shot, like it's just insane. It's crazy. Yes, sir.
No.
I'm done.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
We got time for just one more question. Just one more question.
Thank you, Elder I wanted to allude back to what he was saying about medical conditions.
Yes, ma'am.
Because pre-existing medical conditions can affect any insurance.
Yes, ma'am.
Whether it's a personal purchase or employee purchase, through your job. But you can Google insurances that can actually cover pre-existing medical conditions.
Yes.
And that's for you, sir, and Ivy, to you too. You can
Right.
actually Google that information medically and just put in pre-existing medical insurance coverages. Thank you.
And there are some companies, like the company the company I work for, we offer supplemental insurances to companies who have 3 or more employees. Now check this out. The reason why I ask you if you're employed or not is because in some of these supplement companies, if you have 3 or more employees, they have a guaranteed issue life insurance with no medical questions up to $30,000 at a very low rate. You can do that. One last thing about your insurance through your job. Once you go to your exit interview, they will ask you if you want to continue your coverage of life insurance. You would say, sure, how much is that going to cost me? You cannot convert. No. If you've got term insurance with your job, which you do, you cannot continue to pay that term insurance rate. You have to convert it to whole life insurance. The good thing about it is there's no medical questions required when you convert it. You started your job at 25, 30. Now you're 65, getting ready to retire, and you want to convert that $100,000 term insurance to whole life at 65. You're like, once you hear that premium, you're like, I don't think so. It costs a lot of money. And these are things that we really want you to be aware of. And again, don't be ignorant. Don't ignore what you really don't want to hear, see, or do. Be wise. Be wise. All right? Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ray. Thank you so much. Okay, we're going to take a 15-minute break. We have refreshments in the vestibule, so please help yourself. We'll meet back here for the second part. Please don't bring any refreshments back into the sanctuary. You all know that. But please go out and help yourself. We put together a nice spread. So please take a 15-minute break, go out in the vestibule, get some refreshments, and we'll come back for part 2. Thank you.